welcome back. Well, they're back at it again. Gunman shouting Allahu Akbar beheads Paris teacher who had shown cartoons of Prophet Muhammad to his pupils before police shoot him dead. And it's suspected to be a terror attack, but we can't say for sure. At what point do we go, yeah, it probably was, when you're shouting Allahu Akbar and you're beheading, as in you're striking the infidels at the neck where you find them, as in you're doing exactly what the Quran said, and you're calling the president of France belittling Islam and leader of the infidels. At that point, it kind of seems like you're waging political war on an enemy, on a country, and you're using violence to further your political ideology, which is then terrorism. So as they say, a teenager, an 18-year-old, has beheaded a teacher in northern Paris for showing pictures of Prophet Muhammad in his class. Yep, that's the crime. Showing a picture. You just got to imagine that Muhammad was just really very shy then, and he just couldn't have anybody, obviously no one taking a photo, but nobody drawing him, because they might draw him a bit too accurately. But surely in those times, then you could easily have somebody just make something up to make you look a lot better than you were, like what they did with monarchs in England, for example. Elizabeth I is a fine example of that, using lead paint and then to whiten her face, because white is purity, at least to her, and then painting over blue veins to hide the pock marks that of course came about because of lead. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The attack occurred in Conflans-Sainte-Honoré, 25 miles from the centre, before a police chase ensued. Police chased the man to a nearby town, Aragny-sur-Oise. English is such a superior language, where he was shot dead after refusing surrender. French anti-terror prosecutors confirmed they were investigating an assault involving decapitation on Friday. Today, a teenager shouting Allahu Akbar has been shot dead by French police near Paris after allegedly beheading a school teacher with a knife in the street. He did also have a gun, but of course, surely that would be haram, because that's a new technology and you're not allowed that. I mean, even writing the Quran goes against the teachings of Muhammad, because you weren't allowed to do that, because that was new technology and you can't alter the words at all, except then it was revised by the scholars to say, yeah, some technology is good, other technology is bad. So, of course, writing down the Quran, the printing press, sending out to more people, mobile phones, suicide vests, guns, that's all good technology. But maths, that's bad. Oh, I wish I was joking. The victim was said to have been a middle school history teacher who had enraged parents by displaying cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad to pupils. Really should not be enraging. The attacker, whose identity has not been officially established, was shot by officers as they tried to arrest him and later died of his injuries, the police said. So what was it the teacher did that was really so bad that resulted in somebody who wasn't at the school to behead him? Well, it turns out that he was going through explaining freedom of expression and freedom of speech, and said, okay, like, we're going to go over to the Prophet Muhammad now, and this angers Islam, so if you are a Muslim, you might wish to step out. I'm not going to make you listen to me, I'm not going to make you watch things. That is not freedom of speech. It's for me to be able to say things and people to be able to express themselves, but not forcing other people to listen to it. So if this is too much for you, feel free to step out. That's perfectly fine. But one young girl, thought to be Muslim, stayed behind by mistake, and later told her parents that she had been shown a picture of a naked man and he was described as the Prophet. Because it was... he was showing a Charlie Hebdo caricature of the Prophet crouching with a star drawn on his buttocks and the inscription, "A star is born." So of course that was going to anger some people. And of course then the photo of Samuel P.'s severed head was posted on Twitter by the killer before being quickly removed. Next to it, Emmanuel Macron had been described as the leader of the infidels who dared to belittle Muhammad. It sounds very much like a terror attack to me. But the gentleman in question, you might be thinking, well, was he straight out of the Middle East? Was it that his parents were? And therefore it's, he's bringing that ideology over. Well, actually, not quite. Although they haven't said who the suspect is by name and given a full history of who he is and how he came to be this way. Instead of that, they've mentioned that he's Chechen. Of all places. As in, he came out of Russia, essentially. And there were, of course, a couple of tens of thousands of refugees that went to France because of the fighting over there in Russia, and so they were refugees into France, and then these refugees who were welcomed in by a more tolerant society. Same old story. Yep, different origin, but it's the same ideology, and therefore it's the same story, as you would expect. Time and time and time again. And yes, of course, you do not wish to remove people's freedoms by basically thinking, oh yeah, well, I don't like that person, therefore I'm going to arrest them or detain them and just hold them and remove their freedoms for no reason for a long time, which could be used based on skin colour, that it could be, oh well, that person's brown, therefore we're going to detain them. Or on the flip side, of course, as we're seeing more in Britain, that person's white, therefore we're going to detain them because we're concerned about Nazis that are apparently right-wing despite being socialists. And therefore we've got to be careful in how it's enforced. But I think when it gets to the point that somebody is posting viable, visible threats against other people, that they have the weapons and the know-it-all to carry it out, at that point, they've kind of forfeited their right as a innocent civilian. At that point, they're shining a spotlight on themselves and saying, yep, I'm a threat, I'm going to remove other people's freedoms unless you find out what I'm doing first. It's just a chase. It's a cat and mouse game at that point. And as they say, the attacker is believed to be from a Chechen background, said an investigating source referring to the Russian Federation Republic. Thousands of battle-hardened Chechen refugees, including many devout Muslims, entered France in the early 2000s, following 2 bloody wars against Russia. Around 30,000 Chechens in total escaped to France, many of them resettling in the suburbs of major cities such as Paris. Rodrigo Arenas, head of the Parent-Teacher Association at the Bois de Lune College in Conflans-Saint-Honorine, confirmed there had been a legal complaint by an extremely angry father last Friday after a cartoon of a nude Mohammad was shown in class. Samuel P. had invited Muslim students out of the classroom before showing the picture, as we know. So that's where we stand. That even trying to take those precautions. So he's not saying, oh, everybody, I'm just going to show you this provocative image. No. He's even trying to say, the following image might contain scenes that some of you will find distressing. So I'm not going to make you sit through this. You can instead choose to leave if you wish. I'm going to give you the freedom to decide, and you can join in or you can leave. That's fine. But this is what I'm going to do. In response, they went, yeah, well, I'm not going to give you that choice. I'm going to kill you instead. And that's a key difference when trying to understand the motivations and what should be done concerning the different characteristics at play here. But we're going to keep seeing this until we can understand that we are a more tolerant, freedom-loving society. Not as much as America was founded on, of course, but nonetheless, we do our best. And the same should be true of France, and the same should be true of any developed nation. That is how we became developed in the first place. And those are our values, and that is what we hold dear. So, if you do try to subvert what make our countries great, then you are not welcome. You will be asked to leave, and you will be forced to leave. But, as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Is there a better way in order to prevent this from happening again, addressing the problem, without laying the groundwork for it to be used against us in the future? Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. But, as always, until next time, have a good one.